Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. Using a 21mm spanner, unscrew the nut holding the suspension strut support bearing by a few threads. In order to change the front shock absorbers on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels to have complete access to the suspension system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels, raise the front of the vehicle and put it in the two-axle stance. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. You now have to remove the upper ball from the sway bar link. It connects the stabilizer link so that the wheels are always in contact with the ground. To do this, we recommend watching the video How to Replace the Sway Bar Link's Trafic 3. Using a wire brush, brush the threads of the shock absorber footballs and spray it with degreaser. Using a socket wrench and a 22mm socket, unscrew the two screws on the base of the shock absorber. During this operation, you will work on the front end of your car. When you change the front shock absorbers of your vehicle, it is advised to check the wheel alignment. You can use the shank to help remove them. Unclip the brake hose. Disconnect the shock absorber base from the stub axle. The base of the shock absorber should now be free. Finish unscrewing the suspension strut support bearing retaining nut. Once released, hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish off the unscrewing with the other hand. Remove the shock absorber. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find a description of the tool used in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful! Pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Position the shock absorber in the vise. Then tighten the shock absorber spring compressors. Check that they are properly held by the locking studs. Then slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and the appropriate socket. Once the shock absorber is free in the spring, you can use a 21mm offset wrench and a 6mm Allen key to unscrew the suspension strut support bearing. In the most extreme cases, you have to use an impact wrench. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. Then, remove the suspension strut support bearing, the upper spring support and the spacer. Remove the shock absorber.
Okay, guys, if we can share this video with you and help you save a lot of money, is also thanks to our partner, Mr. Auto. So, if you want to support us and buy the part for this operation, visit their website. Okay, back to work.
You will find the bulk parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. Before installing the new shock absorbers, it is necessary to prime them by pressing the shock absorber rod vertically so that the gas and the hydraulic fluid are separated. Take the new shock absorber. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Put in place the sleeve boarded and the shock absorber rod. Position everything in the spring. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Then install all of the upper spring support, the rotating stub in the support bearing, the spacer, and finish by screwing in the lock nut onto the shock absorber stem. Make sure it is well tightened. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. Put the filter block in place. You have now finished preparing the new part. Insert the shock absorber starting from the top part. Replace the upper suspension strut support bearing, then screw its retaining nut by hand. Put the shock absorber back into the stub axle. Then put the screws back in place. Then screw the nuts back on. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a torque wrench. Clip the brake hose back in. Put the sway bar link in its place and screw it back in. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put your car back on the ground and block the wheels securely. Final tightening of the suspension strut support bearing nut is done with a torque wrench. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.